I'm the person. I have.
Yes, we have been using it.
All right, good morning.
Different series.
It's Tuesday. That feels like a Monday. And we usually meet on Wednesday, so it's terribly confusing today. But I would like to call this September 2nd, 2025 WKU Staff Senate meeting to order. We're good? Okay. All right, so our agenda and our last month's minutes were sent electronically. Any adjustments or objections? Hearing none, we will consider them accepted. So we will start off our staff Senate meeting with our Staff Star Awards.
Sorry.
No.
That's me. I'll direct you.
But-
You'll have to bear with me.
Oh, wait, sorry, we gotta call roll. See, sorry.
Good morning. Senator Adams.
Here.
Senator Ashby.
Here.
Senator Bailey. Present. Senator Bartley.
Here.
Senator Basham. Present. Senator Bryant. Senator Cornwell is on Zoom. Regent Hammond. Here. Senator Henry. Here. Senator Hess.
Here.
Senator Hopwood.
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Hughes.
Here.
Senator Jenkins. Present. Senator Johnson. Senator Jones. Present. Senator Hopkins. Present. Senator Ray.
Present.
Senator Spitler. All right, Chair Bull and Senator Werner.
Awesome.
Now we're ready for stay. Yeah.
Like I was saying, I'm following Jordan. Mr. Jordan Ray is normally the one that does this, so I'm taking over those duties. You'll have to bear with me. I'm not as articulate and professional as Jordan is. Thanks for all you've done, Jordan. Let's give him a round of applause. So good morning, everyone. My name is Kent Johnson. It's my pleasure to introduce one of our most meaningful recognitions as a staff senate. It is the Christopher Ware Staff Star Award. This award was created in honor of Christopher Ware, whose dedication, passion, and exceptional service has left a lasting impact on our university. The Staff Star Award is designated to celebrate those individuals who consistently go above and beyond in their roles, demonstrating outstanding commitment, teamwork, and excellence. These individuals embody the spirit of service that Chris represented. And through their hard work and dedication, they inspire all of us. This month's recipients have made remarkable contributions that have made a significant difference to our students and our colleagues. It is with great admiration that we recognize their efforts, and we're truly grateful for the energy and the passion they bring to their roles. We will start today by recognizing Mr. Jimmy Martin. Jimmy currently serves as a Director of Student Support Services Disability, and he was nominated by Kristen Hooks. Kristen, can't remember if she was, it's Kristen. Okay. I'm going, Jimmy Martin's supervisor, Dr. Brian Broush, was very excited about Jimmy getting this award. He has a staff meeting this morning, so he was not able to make it. So I'm going to read Kristen's nomination remarks. Jimmy is an excellent colleague to have. He is always a friendly face and encouraging individual. He is someone you can count on and is constant. He thinks innovatively and looks for opportunities to partner and make systems better. He deeply cares about students and keeps them at the center of his work. And I'd like to also say, just knowing Jimmy for a while, every time I see him, he's always positive and excited. We've worked together and discussed military connected students, and I can see his passion. So I'm very excited to be able to help recognize you today. And if you want to come forward, we will take a picture. You care to do that? Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you all so much.
Congratulations to that.
Now I'm going back to that same staff meeting.
Oh, you are? I should have spoke longer, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
Thank you all.
Okay, our next Christopher Staff Star Award is Michelle Schneller. Michelle currently serves as a budget coordinator for the social work department, and she was nominated by Monica Hines, who now is Monica.
She's in class.
We're hearing her fit.
Oh, okay, do one of y'all want to give some remarks, or you want?
Do you want to read her remarks?
Okay.
Maybe I'll make some remarks on top of that. We'll see.
Okay. All right, so I will read Monica Hines' remarks as when she nominated Michelle. I enthusiastically recommend Michelle Schneller, Budget Coordinator for the Department of Social Work, for the WKU Christopher Staff Senate Award. Michelle exemplifies the very spirit of dedication, efficiency, and support that this award aims to recognize. Her meticulous attention to detail, proactive communication, and unwavering commitment to accuracy have ensured the department runs smoothly, often behind the scenes and without fanfare. Beyond her role-specific responsibilities, Michelle goes above and beyond to assist faculty and staff with budget planning, grant management, and day-to-day operations. Her collaborative nature and positive attitude make her an invaluable resource and a trusted colleague. She is not only deeply knowledgeable, but also approachable, kind, and solutions focused. Michelle's contributions directly impact the success and the sustainability of our programs, and her work reflects the highest standards of professionalism and excellence. Recognizing her through this award would be a well-deserved acknowledgement of her essential role within WKU. With warm regards, Dr. Monica Hines. Invite you up, Michelle. We'll get a picture. You all are welcome to come up as well.
He looks pretty. You need to be. You couldn't have said it better.
That was very nice.
Ready? 2, 3. Got it. And next, we would like to recognize our third Christopher Ware Staff Star winner, Madonna May. You all probably all know Madonna if you've worked, I know she was coming from travel. Was that where you were at most recently, travel?
Yep.
Okay. So she's done, I know, a lot of work for helping all of us at WKU that has traveled, but she is also now in a new role. She just recently started that position in the Department of Chemistry. And she actually was nominated by 2 individuals, Nicole Boaz and Tawana Atkinson. I'm going to read both of their nomination. They both wanted me to read this. So congratulations. Let me read this. This first one is from Nicole. Her nomination remarks are, Madonna is always willing to assist with anything. I started in May of last year, and she has been an invaluable resource. I see her interact with many individuals from different departments, and she seems to approach everything with an attitude of helpfulness. In our department, she never hesitates to answer questions, and if she doesn't know, will go above and beyond to try to connect you with the person or resources necessary to accomplish whatever you are trying to do. And then next, the comments from Luana. She says, I would like to nominate Madonna May for the WKU Staff Award. Madonna currently was working in the CFO office under the Department of Strategy, Operations, and Finance. Previously on campus, she worked in the business offices for Airmark, and prior to that, she worked in the Office of Sustainability under Dr. Christian Ryan while working on her college degree. As many of you know, Madonna is awesome in the travel department. She has taken travel to the highest level it has ever been. She has answered so many questions about travel, whether it is regular travel or rules in regard to grants travel. She always helps you in getting your travel correct, period. She is the perfect figure of an employee and is also the perfect problem solver. I met Madonna on her first day of one of her positions on campus. Our department had bills that desperately needed attention, and she looked at me as that day one employee does, and still gave me the assurance and confidence that everything would be handled immediately. Guess what? By day two, things were getting reconciled. That is why she is a problem solver. Not only is Madonna good with travel, she has helped me also with the campus. She has helped me as well with the campus with just knowing how to find items, know the right people to get your job done, and create exciting experiences for student, faculty, and staff. She doesn't leave you hanging and always shows up to help you personally, no matter how long it takes. You may not realize it, but she created the market on the avenue a few years ago that has turned out to be one of the highlights of the campus community. She also achieved the Bicycle Friendly Award for the very first time for WKU a few years ago. She got travel incorporated into the professional development classes that benefit us all to understand all the rules associated with travel. These are just a few things in short to mention how much of an asset Madonna is to WKU. Personally, I have worked with her for at least 10 years and have never seen a more qualified, responsible, caring person. I know you will agree with me if you worked with her, she is your go-to person. And if you truly have worked with Madonna, you have probably received fresh veggies or plants from her and have had great discussions about having a garden. Having well-rounded employees who communicate well to the campus community is priceless, and that is Madonna. In closing, there really isn't enough words to describe how valuable an employee Madonna is. I would even go on to nominate her to a higher travel position if there was one. She is that good. So send your compliments to Ronaldo and about Madonna. Or her new supervisor, when you think of the staff award and people who deserve it, that is Madonna. Thank you for your consideration, Tia Atkinson. Yeah, and y'all are welcome to say something as well if you'd like, but just definitely come and take the lead.
No, the friends are coming.
Oh, the friends are coming
The
too.
friends are coming. They don't, she didn't want me.
So you don't want a picture of Lisa? I'm gonna get one anyway.
Okay.
Friends.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
We'd like to, so congratulations again to our 3 Staff Star Award winners today. And thank you all for helping us recognize these 3 great staff members. I'd like to conclude by saying that if you work with someone who goes above and beyond and deserves to be recognized, please fill out the nomination form located on our Staff Senate website. I know this is one of the things we really enjoy being able to do as a Staff Senate is recognize the staff members and how that contributes to all of our work, but also the students and their experience here at WKU. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have our guest speaker, President Cavoni. Thank you so much for your taking time to answer our campus questions that were submitted. We are going to move so we're not behind you.
Happy fall officially, everyone. This is one of my favorite things to do during the semester. This will be my ninth visit to Staff Senate, and appreciate the opportunity to come spend some time with you all, but also to answer some broader questions from the community. It has been an exciting time on our campus, certainly because students are finally back for those of us who are here and present over the summer, it gets a little quiet, although it gets a chance to catch up on some things as well. I think this is an important time for our community. For the president to come and answer questions. I think it says something about what I've always believed about the role of the university president, which is to be present, to be responsive, to be transparent. And look, this is the world we live in is not an easy world, right? And for me to be able to come visit with you and help clear some things up or share my perspective, I'm thankful for each year. There were 58, I think, 58 questions submitted. We spent a great deal of time kind of organizing those, but also thinking about how do we generate the responses and get the data to answer the questions that were submitted. So I want to thank the folks on the leadership team of the university, getting some really nitty-gritty details for us to share, but also for everyone who submitted a question. Thank you for what you did. And to Staff Senate, thank you for being a voice for our employees in a place where folks can come when they feel challenged, when they want to feel heard. And with that, let's get to it, right? Let's stay up. Bring it on. So the first question was around morale and what can leadership do in the context of improving morale within a department. It's my sense of what this question is. And so I want to say there are things that we do for leaders on our campus to help grow them. And I would encourage every person on our campus to take advantage of those growth opportunities. We want to be a welcoming and supportive environment. And to do that, having open and respectful communication is essential. And so for leaders on our campus, I want them to hear this from the president. You need to be respectful, open, transparent, and listen to your people. Being a manager is not just about telling, it's more important to hear and to make adjustments based upon feedback. So to our leaders, let me say, when people want to share their concerns, they should feel safe doing that and not like there would be some consequence. As a matter of fact, that responsiveness and transparency will build trust and can increase morale. I also want to talk to all of our staff. Participate in engagement surveys. If you're in a leadership position, I encourage you to think about 360. It can be painful and difficult to hear criticism, but that's what your job as a leader is to do. To listen to what your organization needs and to make adjustments based upon sometimes challenging and difficult feedback. We have a staff ombudsperson, which is a really important position, where if you don't feel like you're getting heard in your organization or your portion of the campus organization, is there a way for you to go talk to that person and get some sort of resolution? Obviously, everyone in this room, you're leaders on campus. Staff Senate is another place for folks to be heard and listened to and for the organization to respond. But I also want to tell folks, we want you to participate in the leadership growth opportunities. So we know we have our annual professional development day. I want people to go and take that seriously. We can all get better. Continuous improvement is a hallmark of what we do. Our Staff Leadership Institute, again, another kind of program we put in place to help grow our leaders and make sure they are getting better over time. Our HR office offers regular supervisor training. I hate the word supervisor, but that's what they call it, to help leaders strengthen their skills and to support staff growth. And so for everyone who is in a leadership position, I want to say, be better, because we can all be better. And that came through this question. But I also think there's a place for all of us to create an organization that has high morale. I've worked in places where we have an Eeyore or two. I don't know if any of you remember Winnie the Pooh. Don't be an Eeyore, right? I appreciate there are always challenges and you can always focus on the negative, but there are lots of amazing things that are happening. And a couple of those folks can really bring down morale in an organization. So if you have colleagues that constantly see the world as not just glass half empty, but 3/4 way empty, as peers, work with them. But here's the other thing that's really important to me, and I did this with our softball team a couple of years ago. They asked me about, well, how can I be a leader? And, what does it take to become a leader? And in my position, I have positional authority and leadership just because of the role. But what I said to them, and what I want to share with all of you and anybody who's interested today, is that your position or where you are in the organization really doesn't matter in terms of morale, in terms of culture, because culture eats strategy every single day. Leaders lead. You don't have to be a boss to be a leader. There were times in my career where I was the youngest, well, a lot of times I was the youngest person in the room. And I was never shy about stepping up and saying what needed to be done. That's everyone's obligation, but if you want to be a leader, then just lead. There's such a thing as leading from below. Help grow the person who's in a managerial position, provide good feedback, shape their ability to work well with others. And if you got that Eeyore or two in the room, help them feel better about what's going on, and maybe not commiserate as much. Empathy, cooperation, and a commitment to constructive dialogue really lays the foundation for a healthy campus. So that was question one. There are a bunch of questions, as one might imagine, about salary. If there's been one commonality for the past 8 years, it has been a salary question. I don't make light of it. I'm actually really proud of the work that we've done as an institution. Some of you may not remember before 2017, but I'm going to remind you. Salary increases were not automatic, they were not guaranteed, and there were many years where we just skipped over them. I made the commitment, and it was actually during one of my first staff senate meetings, that we were going to do everything in our power to ensure we had a salary pool, an increased pool every year. In year one, it was 4%. We did that every year, except for the COVID year. I'm proud of that, and we are going to continue to do that as an institution. Those of you who've been involved with the Budget Executive Committee know that there are times when it's hard and you have to make trade-offs. And when the conversation between leadership and the committee has been, well, we don't think we can do it this year. For those of you who've been involved in those conversations, you remember that I will always say, nonsense, go do the hard work. That's why you're on the committee. And so I'm really proud of the efforts that we've made and what we've done. But I want to say, we know we have to try harder and do more. The world we live in is challenged, right? Inflation is eating everything. But we don't operate in a vacuum. So when you think about the effects on inflation on you, the university is also experiencing similar types of pressures. When you think about escalating healthcare, everything it costs for us to keep the lights on, so we're all in this together. But I do think we're going to have to work harder. I think we are turning a budgetary corner. I'm very proud that when I walked in the door in 2017, I inherited almost a $40 million gap, including the use of carry forward to balance the budget every year. And if you didn't know, I want to reiterate for everyone in this room, this summer, the university passed for the first time since 2005, 20 years, a balanced budget without the use of carry forward dollars to balance that budget. That is a tremendous accomplishment. And it is not an accomplishment just of me or leadership. It's the accomplishment of every person in this room who made difficult purchasing decisions. Is this a need or is it a want? Do we have to have this or can we delay? And I know it's hard sometimes to go through the purchasing process and it feels like there are a million steps. Thank you for your patience with that, because we had to get our spend in line with our revenue. And I will say, I do think we've done a good job at being consistent, but we can do better. But understand our revenue is constrained. It's constrained by CPE. It's constrained by the state budget. It's constrained by the tuition increases. And it's constrained by our internal cost escalators. So when you think about healthcare costs, they are through the roof. For can't even remember how many years in a row, but for I think 3 or 4 years in a row, we had 0% cost increases on faculty and staff for their health insurance. How many was it? 5 years in a row, even more. We did that on purpose to buffer, right, our community from those increases. We're getting back to a more balanced distribution now because we have to as an institution. So I'm proud of that, but I will say we can do better. And one of the questions around leadership is this: can you think differently about how your organization, your leaders on campus, department heads, how you're organized? Could you create a different arrangement where folks have different responsibilities, and those who have increased responsibilities can have their salaries adjusted? One of the things that I wanted to touch on was really the compensation study that we did and why that's important. Because if you look at it, in fiscal year 25, we had 215 adjustments to salary to market in our market bands. Outside of the university, 2%. That's 20% of your peers who had their salaries shifted to make sure we were being competitive with market. But I want to remind everyone here about market. Higher education market is different than the for-profit market. And there are advantages to being part of a university, including summer hours, including the days you get for vacation, which is pretty generous. The breaks that we have built in that we also gave to you all, staff, when the faculty were getting that in the spring. Staff didn't used to get spring break, we do now. I think all of those and the flexibility that we have, really different from quote unquote the for-profit world. I also think that understanding that everyone except for 10 employees are now within a salary band that meets their peers and our aspirational peers. What does that mean? It means we went and we took a look at of universities that we say we're like and what their salaries were, adjusted our bands to that, worked to get everyone into those bands. But that doesn't mean you can't go down the street to a for-profit company and increase your salary, perhaps by 20 or 30%. We do everything we can to increase total compensation as an institution. But it's a university. And just like a not-for-profit, the pay is different. I am reminded of at least 2, if not more folks, who came to whoever their organizational leader was, I don't want to call them out specifically, and said, look, I have this offer out here, and I can make 50% more or almost or more than that than I can at WKU. And we couldn't match that. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if you match that for that person, then you blow up the salary band. But here's what happened. Those 2 individuals left. They started doing that work for this outside company. And within 6 months, they were asking if they could perhaps interview or come back. It's a very different environment than what we enjoy on this campus. And sometimes we do lose sight of that. Here's the other thing in it. I would encourage all of you to think about your career ladder. Someone asked, how do I get an 11% raise? Well, I'm going to tell you, you are unlikely to get a 10% raise by just doing your job. That's not the world we live in. But I don't want you just to do your job. I want every faculty member and every staff member to know we want you to grow and be better and do different. And Madonna, you are the perfect, thank you for being here and getting the award today. You are the perfect example of this. Madonna got her degree, right? That comes with a huge salary bump. Madonna, how many jobs now? 5, 6? As you move around, you get more responsibility. You work to grow your capacity. Eventually, I hope you move into a managerial position on our campus. So this is where I think as an organization, we've done well with some. If you take the initiative, you have opportunities, but you got to look outside of your vertical, right? If your expectation is I'm going to be here for 25 or 27 years, through retirement. And I'm just gonna continue to, you get increases automatically, you will, hopefully. But is that gonna grow your overall salary? The answer is probably not. The way you really boost salary is to go into other areas of responsibility, to grow your portfolio. And if you're stuck narrowly, we gotta work with you and your bosses to think about, how do I move outside of my current responsibilities? Ask for more. And because of that, you can do better. I've watched folks on this campus go from admissions to comms to leadership, and in that, they've dramatically increased their salaries. I'm gonna get a little wonky. Higher education is a national labor market. So you're not just competing, right, with folks locally, you're competing with folks outside. And what does that do? Well, for some positions, particularly professional staff positions, for you to go up, sometimes you have to go out. I'm not encouraging anyone to leave the university. As a matter of fact, we want the opposite. We want as many of our folks to stay here as we can. And we got to do a better job through HR and human resources at creating that career progression and that ladder that creates opportunity for folks to grow, for folks to shift. I mean, I see faces in the room who've been given opportunities and earned opportunities. We also have to be willing to say to folks, I appreciate you want another position or opportunity. There's someone in the job you want. But is there a similar job that matches your skill set that's not in the organization? I make it a point, and I have the folks with whom I work closely try to identify talent outside of their organizations and say, hey, would you be willing to come do something different, right? I'm thinking of a very specific example. And sometimes we get like, no, I don't want to go in that world. Okay, well, we'll see if we can find the next thing, because you identify that talent and you create opportunities for the talent to be maximized. So that's that about how it is you might get an 11% raise. Here's the other thing, and I think it's important. Someone asked, why aren't we doing merit raises purely? I'm in favor of merit raises. I'm happy. I would be happy for us to say 0 to 4%. But the BDC every year comes back to me and leadership and says, we talked about it, we considered it, but we don't think the pool is large enough for us to do that. And one of the things I'm supposed to do is really listen and consider that BDC recommendation along with the provost and the EVP. And so we've done that. And do I think we get there? I hope we do. There's a year where we could do 3-4% across the board, make some adjustments, really get us on solid footing. At that point, I'm happy to go to 0 to 4% out of a 2% pool, or 0 to 6%. We haven't gotten there yet. Part of the constraints is, again, what's eating up any increase. And then for every 1% tuition increase, that allows us to offer a 1% salary increase. And so, CPE caps our increases at 2% overall for the pool. That puts a cap on what we can do with salary. And there is a direct correlation, because we're not getting more money from the state except for performance funding, and that's a separate conversation to have. But the performance funding model really has not rewarded successes that we've created. And so we're going to continue to work the issue. I will also say this. This is not a WKU challenge. This is a challenge of our economy nationally. I don't know if any of you read in the Wall Street Journal this morning, confidence in the next generation doing better than the previous generation is at almost an all-time low. So I understand the pressures that you are feeling as staff and our faculty are feeling. I understand it doesn't feel like things go as far. How hard is it to be a young person to get the down payment together for a new house, given what housing has done and the pressures here in Bowling Green? We have to have a conversation beyond WKU about that, about how do we create an economy that benefits all. And I think we need to be aware of this is not just an internal conversation, but very much a national conversation. And look, we got to get back to where everyone wins as a nation. That is absolutely a place where we have to be. I do think there's another thing that we can do though, and this goes to the next question we got about, the 4-day work week. So we can do that during the summer. Absolutely, we can do that during the summer because, the pressures and the demands on some levels go down, other places they actually go up. But I don't think we can do a 4-day work week every week. And I'll tell you why. Number one, I think our legislators in Frankfurt would have a real challenge with that. They would say, well, why don't we cut everyone's salary then by 20%? Spend time with these folks, I know that would be the reaction. But I do think we have the ability to be flexible. What is workforce policy 4.2502? That's the alternative work policy. All of our folks should be willing to have a talk about what works best for our office. There are some offices or some work that doesn't allow you to work from home. I mean, there's some things, so you guys, you gotta be here to do the work. And I know that that is a challenge. But there are some others, and I'm thinking about philanthropy, for example. Everyone has their own ability to craft their workflow, except on Wednesdays, right? Wednesdays, everyone is in the office. And so for folks who want that flexibility, I think as an institution, we have to be able to have the conversation around how do we best meet the needs of our students and our faculty and staff, all of our audiences, and also take care of us as employees. So I would encourage folks. I do this with my office. Now it's a tiny office, but be flexible, right? It's the president's office. We gotta be open, right? But I walked over today and we're open and there's one person there right now. And it's fine. We don't get a lot of foot traffic and the phone doesn't ring very much and that's all okay. But we have flexibility where if you have family needs, right, that you can go take care of them. And so I encourage again, not staff, but staff leadership to continue to have those conversations across campus. The next question is a GLP-1 question. And you all know what that is. Ozempic, the shot, whatever you want to refer to it. Someone's asking why I can't get that to treat, prevent me from becoming a type 2 diabetic. And so I'm going to remind everyone, our health insurance is self-insured. The money that you pay into the insurance doesn't go to some insurance company necessarily. It actually comes to the university. And when there are claims, the university pays those claims out. Post-pandemic, we've had several catastrophic instances of large payouts on our campus, primarily related to cancer. And that has depleted in some ways that reserve fund. We're building it back up. It's one of the reasons we're sharing the cost. But if we, and if you have type 2 diabetes, you actually can get Ozempic to be treated. I want to be clear. We don't want you to get anybody to get type 2 diabetes. We want folks to exercise, eat well, take care of themselves. If you do wind up with your numbers getting there, you'd be eligible if your doctor prescribes it for that prescription. But we can't prescribe it for weight loss. It typically comes with a cost of, if anybody knows this, it's surprising to me, between $750 and $1,500 a month. And if the number of people who wanted to use that for weight loss got access to that through our healthcare system, it would be catastrophic for the insurance that we have. We can't afford it. It would bankrupt the pot of money almost instantaneously. I don't know if you saw that the number one prescribed and use of those GLP-1 drugs is actually in the country is Bowling Green. And so I appreciate it. The question, if you have type 2 diabetes, absolutely, we want you to have every option available to you. If you don't, but if you're close, which I know what that feels like, taking care of yourself, exercising, getting your A1C numbers down, right, taking care of the healthy eating. I understand a shot might be a shortcut, but we want to make sure that we're taking care of all of us as well, physically and mentally. So this goes to the next question I got around, set of questions around mental health. You know, we are in a healthcare crisis in our country. Driven by what? I would say partially driven by social media. We will have a guest speaker that addresses some of this for the presidential lecture series. I hope everyone will come to it. We haven't announced that yet, so I'm teasing. I'm not gonna make news today. The comms people will kill me. But I do think there are a number of drivers around mental health that we have to take care of one another as a community. The EAP, right, the Employee Assistance Program that we have, it is not the end solution. It's a place to go if you're challenged with mental health issues, to go first, to get a referral, to move on, and to really think about how do I get placed with a longer term provider, either on campus. We have some of that here, Tally Center, certainly through the Med Center, we now have on campus availability, but also in the community. So don't think of the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, as the end. Think of it as the start of that conversation. And it's free. And we're going to keep it free. But I do think we can do a heck of a lot more to promote daily mental wellness. So thinking about how it is we address the work environment, I think the flexibility that I was talking about before is a way to address some of the stresses folks have. The Top Life Wellness Program, physical health leads to better mental health outcomes. So do that and work on it. But I wanted to take this really seriously this year, given both the comments that I've gotten individually, some of the responses that I've seen on survey data, but also looking at the challenges that we face in our world. So if you didn't remember from convocation, I'm going to create a university-wide wellness advisory committee. And I want to examine and broaden our health and wellness initiatives. There's an opportunity for us to be self-critical and to do better. But I want to think about how do we support the whole person. So that means all dimensions of wellness, physical, mental, of course, but occupational and social health. How do we have meaningful connections? And I think as a university, we do a pretty good job compared to not university entities at creating social connections. But we also have to have digital health, environmental health, financial health. And how do we support that as an institution? Every person having access to that and more. So that committee, I've already gotten folks volunteering. If there is anyone else, if you're interested in volunteering being part of it, please email president@wku.edu. I'll be assembling that group in the coming weeks. I'm going to ask them to go out and meet with groups of staff and faculty, students, but we do a lot of that already with faculty and staff, including, I don't know if any of you are aware of, or many of you are aware of, the 10 dimensions of wellness that we've piloted in the College of Health and Human Services. Obviously, they have expertise there. Really proud of the work that college has done to support their students and their faculty, but particularly students at knowing these are the 10 dimensions of what it means to be a whole and healthy person. And can we use that as a way to grow our community and help support it? This is a very specific question. There's only one around bereavement leave. And the policy is there an update. So it's currently under review with a consideration of potential changes. But here is my take on this. Just like we're flexible around work, if someone in your family, in our family, our community loses a family member, be flexible. So I'm gonna get in trouble. The whole policy manual thing, really, as somebody who grew up without a policy manual, kind of annoys me sometimes. I appreciate why we have it. So, I mean, there are really only two policies. Do the right thing and don't be a jerk. If we followed those two policies most of the time, we'd probably be okay as an institution. I know we have lawyers, all the other stuff, that's fine. But just do the right thing. If someone in your organization is suffering, figure it out. Be compassionate. Saying to someone, and I know this has happened, I'm sorry you don't have any more vacation time. I'm sorry your spouse died, but you have to come to work. Don't be a jerk, okay? You have the flexibility as a leader to be flexible. We should take advantage of that. This one annoys me, not because of the policy, but because that's cruddy leadership. And that's a bad example of leadership. And I'll Gotta call that out too, when we see it. All right. Housing, you may have noticed we've been in the news a bit lately because of the Student Life Foundation and housing. What a 6 months. Or longer. But I say that in a way to kind of ease the difficulty, but I do think, and I'll talk about the opportunity this presents to us. But the first question is around, around Sodexo, Student Life, and what do they do, and why do they do it, and why is it there and not us, and all these. So first on the Sodexo front, they have a contract with the university, but they provide both facilities management and custodial and ground services. And as part of that, they report both to the university and the Student Life Foundation. This is where I'm gonna talk about this in generalities, and there are lots of specifics, more specifics than you need, that they provided me. So why would you do that? Why would you outsource facility services? Well, it's kind of the same thought around Student Life Foundation. We have core businesses for which we're responsible, educating students, right? That's number one, doing research. That's number two. That's really our two core businesses. You go outside and say economic development and innovation if you really wanted to lean into it, but it's really two. It's research and students. Everything outside of that, I would argue, we have limited expertise as an institution to provide those services. It's the reason we have Alamo. We shouldn't be running our own catering service. We're not catering company. Same thing around facilities. In many ways, outsourcing that work allows us to have national expertise, not just local ownership of it. Through that MOU, Sodexo keeps the Student Life Foundation spaces well maintained, but the Student Life Foundation informed about the condition of residence halls. They also work with them on capital projects, on funding requests, and making sure they have what they need to create a good living environment for our students. As you can imagine, there are pages of questions around what's going on with residence halls and the Student Life Foundation. And I want to address that directly. I did it the Board of Regents meeting in June, but I will do it again today. So the Student Life Foundation is an entity that is separate from the university. The Student Life Foundation isn't WKU, but it was set up to support our students. It operates 16 residence halls, including Hilltopper Hall and 2 apartment buildings. It was founded in 1999 as a nonprofit, and several key factors drove that decision making. So even in the late 90s, many of our residence halls then were outdated. Some needed renovation, a couple needed replacement. So instead of relying on the limited state funds, and universities are pretty good at siphoning dollars off to spend on that core mission, the university essentially gave to or sold to the Student Life Foundation all of our housing assets. We retain the ground leases underneath them, but they own the assets, not the university. It created the opportunity for the Student Life Foundation to generate its own funding to upkeep those properties. So I'm going to say this with the caveat. In theory, the financial structure gave the foundation to reinvest revenue from housing fees to maintain and upgrade our residence halls. Additionally, we didn't have to go through a state procurement process because they have a different process than the university has. So this would enable us to concentrate state appropriations as a university on our core missions and allow housing to work outside of those restraints to do their work to enhance student living. Also was designed to be expeditious because you didn't have to follow the purchasing rules for the institution. And so what the idea behind it was that operating as a nonprofit separate from the university, you get efficiency, you can keep housing rates low, and ensure that dollars didn't move outside of the system to support housing. So the best of intentions. And I appreciate the Student Life Foundation's good partnership over the 16 years of its existence. Now, 26 years of existence. Sorry, I'm not supposed to do math in public. 26 years of existence. But you know that in May, the Student Life Foundation made several announcements related to the housing portfolio. First was a decision that they made to bring down Hilltopper Hall due to the high cost of remediation. They announced the temporary closure of Regents and Normal based on the results of an engineering assessment. And so we had to modify fall housing assignments resulting from these closures, which we navigated through. And so I want to thank, there's a group of folks that have been working on this to help make sure we were able to meet the needs of our students this fall and for the next several years. I want to thank everyone who helped me get our residence halls transitioned and opened. This was a particularly challenging year bringing Central Hall online. Essentially the Hyatt Place Hotel becoming our new residential structure for our campus. But we got to approach this as an opportunity. And again, everyone on the Student Life Foundation has the interests of our students at heart, and they're working together with us to think about how do we navigate this in such a way that gets us to where we need to be. It's an opportunity to accelerate these longstanding conversations. And we're going to reimagine our residential experiences and then implement that strategy over the next 7 to 10 years. You got to think long-term about these things because you don't put the buildings up, obviously, overnight. Our relationship, the university's relationship with SLF, obviously, will need to evolve over the coming years. But the housing-only partnership model, essentially just sequestering housing revenue, is unlikely to get us as a community to the place where we can generate cash flow to do the debt service necessary to deliver the housing that current and future students expect. So what are we gonna do? That's what we've been talking about for over 6 months now. For us to be successful as an institution, for people to have the housing options that they want as students here, we got to reconceptualize everything about how housing works at WKU. And we believe, leadership, and I believe, President, the National Public-Private Partnership is the way to go. We've been working with both the Student Life Foundation, but also Brailsford Dunleavy, which is a planning advisory firm, who has done this over and over and over again nationally. They do large-scale college housing projects across the nation. And so we're going to reevaluate and work through the relationship with the Student Life Foundation and then consider what a P3 relationship might look like. We've got to be more aggressive in the marketplace in which we're competing. We cannot have students deciding to go someplace else because they don't want to live in the housing that we provide. So I announced this in June, I will say it again. This is aggressive. We have to be aggressive. First, we're going to renovate Regents and Normal and get them open. Those are vital buildings for our campus and support our living learning communities. But we can't stop there. We have to work through and figure out the way in which we can complete the first year village, which means replacing Hugh Poland and Douglas Keene. That's phase 2, essentially, hopefully by fall of 28. And then by fall of 30, we have to create an upper class village to replace McCormick, Rose Harlan, and Gilbert Halls. Remember, Hilltopper Hall already will be down. That's for sophomores and upper class students. There's a phase beyond that in my mind, but we're not there yet. We got to get through phase 1, phase 2. If you think about phase 2 as first year village, the upper class village. We've got partners, national partners, who are very much interested in doing this and can create an opportunity for the university and the P3 partnership to access bond markets in a way that we have not ever done before, at least not with housing projects. And so there's a tremendous opportunity here as well. Plus, again, not housing only. What are other things on campus that either generate revenue or cost savings that also can be included in the conversation that creates a long-term plan. Right? This is not a 20-year partnership. This is a long-term 30 to 40-year partnership. Creates upgrades and improves our housing, creates options for our students, elevates the standard of living for every student on our campus, while also maintaining affordability and access. We cannot price ourselves, obviously, out of the market, but we do think that there's a little bit of flexibility there. Done well and done right, this will create a competitive advantage for us in the marketplace. We have scale that others do not have that allows us to do this in competition with them. And so I appreciate this is a difficult and has been a difficult situation. But there also are lots of folks working the problem, and the Student Life Foundation continues to be a good partner with us. And we're all going to get us to the end result, which is this: students who see our housing as something they want to experience and enjoy being part of. Many of our students feel that way, but there are some places on campus that are challenged. The easiest way to think about this: there are 30-year buildings on our campus. Buildings that at their initial construction were designed to last their usable life for 30 years. Some of those buildings are now 50+ years old. And so just renovating or fixing doesn't work. That replacement has to happen. That's not like Cherry Hall, which was not built as a 30-year building. It was built as a 100-year building. The materials in that facility and many at the top of the hill, we can revitalize. But some of these, it's not worth the investment because of the ongoing maintenance challenges we have. I mean, some of the things that we're working with, you can't buy replacement parts. They don't exist. And so you either have to have them made for you, or we actually have a graveyard of old things that we're pulling off of. This is not how we want to be running what is our front door for our students. So we're going to work through that. This is a very specific one. Gary Ransdell Hall, this person asserts, has not had hot water for 4+ years. Okay. If for 4 years you haven't had hot water in your building, don't just go to social media, right? Call or go to the forum for DFM, right? These folks are very responsive. But as you can imagine, people were concerned. What do you mean we haven't had hot water in our college education building for 4 years? So after a little bit of investigation, since we didn't get the service request done, but it did come to us, there was a tempered hot water outage at one little place on the first floor. It was restored. There were 2 electrical breakers that had tripped. It was literally flipping the breakers back on. Instead of sending a question to Staff Senate for me to answer as president, it's a really inefficient way to get breaker switches flipped. I appreciate that people think that the president can do anything. I don't know anything about that stuff, right? The better way to do that would have gone to the facilities page, fill out the form. Somebody would have walked over after a day. You know what they would have figured out? The breakers are just out. But they also went around the building. So I want to share the DFM verified the lab sinks and kitchen actually all had hot water. The building had not been out of hot water for 4 years. They're 100% functioning. The kitchen sink has an instantaneous hot water device for washing dishes. I used to make tea sometimes. We got that fixed, and then we said, all right, let's just make sure. Let's go through the whole building. So DFM inspected the entire building to ensure all systems were operating as designed. In the past 4 years, DFM had a total of 4 service requests on the building. The last recorded service request was 23. So please don't go on social media or wherever you're going and exaggerate about the problems. That's not helpful. What's helpful, and we've got a great crew of folks that do this work constantly. They work hard. They work crazy hard. And they'll come to your building and fix whatever the problem is. But they're not gonna read the Twitters to know that your water isn't hot. So use the right form. If you don't know how to submit a service request, I'm gonna give you their number. 270-745-3253. That's from 7:30 AM to 4:30 PM. You can talk to an attendant who will submit on your behalf service requests. I even have the numbers of the service requests. There were cross connects in the ESA closet, that was in 22. Bad heating element in 22, took a little while to get the heating element, a week or two. There's the pump valve replacement. I appreciate the question. I'm obviously trying to make a point. We can get stuff fixed on our campus, please use the form. These guys work really, really hard and are very, very responsive, so, great. Moving on. So I appreciate that people have recognized that we're working hard. And I have to thank the legislature for asset preservation dollars. They're allowing us to do some really important things on our campus. There's a question here about Potter Hall, which may be haunted apparently. Susan knows. And it needs some modernization or should be raised. And so if you look at the master plan, there actually is something included in our thinking about creating a one-stop shop. It's been in our capital improvement plan, 26 through 32. It's in the master plan. And we're always looking at opportunities, but I want to explain how we make these decisions because we've had some opportunities in the spring semester to talk about asset preservation dollars and what we've done with them. Some of what we've done with them, you will never see. I remember when I first got here, there actually was a Twitter account called the Steaming Manhole Cover. I don't know if any of you follow this, but it provided updates because there was a manhole cover near Bryce Hall that had just steam coming out of it. And the reason it did is because we had a leak in the pipe for so long that they created a Twitter account for it. The state has invested millions of dollars in us to be able to address some of that. And we're the best shape we've been in generations around infrastructure that almost no person on this campus will see firsthand. But the other way we've approached this is through the campus master planning process. You may remember that there were a set of, I'll be mindful of y'all's time and my time. There were a set of projects that we looked at. And the way we arrived at those projects are, what are the buildings in most disrepair? And then we put in a column next to that, what are the buildings that have the highest student traffic? And so number one on that list, Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall is not long for this world, but we got to address it. Again, thank you to the legislature. We have beautiful Chandler, wherever it is, Chandler Hall, which is a spectacular facility. Thank you to the legislature and to Amy and Dave Chandler for that facility. So Bryce, we addressed. Number two on that list, Cherry Hall. We're addressing Cherry Hall, right? It's going to be a beautiful facility, maintaining its historic character, open in fall 20, reopen in fall 27. Third on that list, academic complex. We got the funds to replace academic complex, the largest capital appropriation in our history. So we're going to work through that as well. That will open fall of 28. Cherry Hall will open somewhere in there. Bryce Hall goes away. And so last on that list, there are two competing priorities. One is EST, the other is Fine Arts Center. Fine Arts Center, for those of you who know the building, is a massive facility. It also may be the ugliest building on our campus. As a graduate student, we're going to work to address that if the legislature is so willing. So we've really focused on the spaces where students are that are the most challenged facilities and trying to either renovate the ones that are historic or the ones that are beyond their useful life replacing. So we're going to continue to do that. Potter is a tired building, I know that, and we're going to continue to work on it, but it's not top of the list, and it's not going to be top on the legislature list. That's going to be FAC for this year. I think I addressed that one, it's about leadership and managers. Do the right thing, don't be a jerk, easiest rules in the world to follow. People are seeing improvements to our facilities, like, well, what about my office? Because my office is tired. And I will encourage folks, talk to leadership in your organization. If it's paint or carpet, that's actually pretty doable stuff without that much money. Has had some planning, had to set dollars to the side, but we have enough flexibility for all of our units to be able to do that kind of work. And so, yes, we don't want to be in nasty spaces, but we also can't do total renovations when we have either a long-term plan or don't want to just do a renovation of an office suite. It's inefficient. But paint, carpet, smaller things, absolutely, we should be doing that. And to the folks who painted the handrails on campus, I'm going to publicly say thank you. This may not make, nobody else may have noticed this except for me, but our handrails were chipped, a lot of them. I don't know if you know how many handrails we have on this campus, but I sent Susan about 30 pictures of them as a way of saying thank you for getting them taken care of, all of them. Attention to detail matters. Anybody can get to 70%. A lot of folks can get to 80%. But when you're talking about execution and detail, it's at 90, 95%. And all those little things matter. So if to leadership, if you can find dollars to do it, make sure your spaces can get taken care of. Very specific question. The four-way stop on Normal by Academic Complex, Sherwood, Ransdale, and Minton. Apparently folks are not coming to a full stop, is a kind way to say it, at that stop sign. So first, come to a full stop. If you're driving on campus, pay attention. We've got so many young people and not so young people using those crosswalks. We don't want to create problems. But we went and looked at the data because data matters. We went to Kentucky Ops and a bunch of initials here. We've conducted 12 directed patrols at this crosswalk since January 1 of 2025. So we also know it could be an issue, but there were certainly no arrests, which is a good thing, but no citations or courtesy warnings either in the record management system. But they've reviewed this question at the police department and will start more directed patrols at this intersection. So I don't know if you've noticed, sometimes an officer, I notice because this is the way I go home, I will park. I don't think I'm giving things away, but they will park over by health services to make sure people are stopping there and reminding people to come to a full stop. They're going to do that over by Judy Richards Hall. Question about international enrollment. Obviously a tremendous issue for our institution over the past 15 years. Some of you have been here long enough to remember when we had thousands of students from India and Saudi Arabia on our campus. Now, I'm not going to answer this question here, but I will just ask it out loud rhetorically. I don't know if it makes sense to have 2,000 students from Saudi Arabia or India on our campus in a way that it changes our culture. They're not here anymore, and there's a reason why. If you remember, the university wound up on the front page of the New York Times a couple of times, once around this India program, where in the course of 6 months, we lost 800 undergraduate students, most of whom were studying computer science. And then in the mid 2010s, the King Abdullah Scholarship. This was a scholarship that funded Saudi students to be able to study in the United States, full tuition plus some, and housing. We had well over 1,000 students funded by that scholarship program. And in 2016, Saudi Arabia changed the criteria to say you can only study at an institution that's in the top 50, I think 50, in the US News and World Report. And all of a sudden, all those students who were studying engineering primarily with us in computer science were no longer eligible to come to WKU. We've got a great engineering program, but it's not in the US News top 50. And so we've lost, over the course of those 15 years, almost 2,000 students that are from India and Saudi Arabia. And if you've been here for an arc of time, you feel that shift. Now, in terms of revenue, yeah, that's a challenge. But if we continue to have the same number of dollars put into international, is that the right investment? We're challenged with the pandemic, challenged around folks being able to get their visas. And so we're gonna take a close look at that and ask, is that the place in which we need to spend those resources? Or could you shift them to other places to attract other kinds of undergraduate students or adult students or online students? So I appreciate you pointing it out. Somebody asked, why do we name Chandler Hall Chandler Hall? 7.5 million reasons why. That we're gonna raise money for buildings on our campus. The policy actually says that's how we're supposed to name buildings. On occasion, there may be an honorific name without a gift, but that's not how we're gonna generate resources. I'm really proud in the 8 years that I've been on campus, we've had six largest fundraising years have come in the last 8 years. Last year, we raised more money than any other year in WKU's history in private support. So we're gonna continue to work on that. All right. 2 more questions or 2 more sets of questions and you're gonna be done with me. So someone asked, what are we doing to stand out? It feels like we just do what other universities do. And so I appreciate that's that question's perspective. I'm gonna disagree. As a matter of fact, we focus very little on what universities do to determine what we should do. And part of it is student experience, but part of it is think about our living learning communities. We have 1/3 of our students getting ready to go up to 50 to 60% of them participating in living learning communities. That transforms that undergraduate experience. People don't celebrate that we've moved retention from 70% to 80% in 8 years. Folks, that's unheard of nationally. And we did it together as a community. And we've moved our graduation rate, so much so that the nearest comprehensive institution to us graduates 33% fewer students every year. We graduate more undergraduates than the University of Louisville. They don't want to talk about that because, well, that's not a good story for them. But we are doing everything in our power to help students be successful. The number 2 differentiator for us. Kentucky does not have a Research 2 institution, and we are going to. WKU will become the Commonwealth's first R2 university. That means we have to grow our research portfolio. We've already made the criteria. We're going to continue to invest in that. But also proud that you now will be able to have take a PhD course of study at WKU, starting with data sciences. Over and over and over again, you look at what we create compared to other institutions, and we're certainly very different from comprehensives. We don't want to be an R1. We're not going to be a Louisville or Kentucky, but our niche is as a Goldilocks institution, right? Not too big, not too small, just right on everything we do. That's what we're carving out for ourselves. And if you look nationally at the success we create for our students, we are a shining star and an exemplar. We're going to continue to be that, continue to accelerate it, and compete with R1s, but with the feel of a comprehensive institution. So here's the last question. I love this question because it allowed me to reflect. And what I learned as president, that made me do something different in the next term. And there are a few things that I'll share with you because as a leader, and folks who work with me know this, I am never satisfied with anything, including myself. It used to be, if your goal is perfection, you're always going to be a failure. And that's true. Because I'm never happy. And so this allowed me to think about what I could do better as a leader. So the first thing that I learned, and this was more confirmatory for me, is that teams and groups make better decisions than individuals, right? And so if you look at the way we've built the presidency, my presidency, it's really been around how do we engage a larger group of people around making important decisions. And I think you see it, the awful first year and the budget challenges we navigated. You look at how we navigated through the pandemic. You think about how we're working on the Residence Life Challenge. In each one of those situations, and many, many more, the Budget Executive Committee and how it works, there's more input from more places to be critical and self-critical. And that gets you to a better decision. And I'm glad that I brought that philosophy with me. We don't make budgets, the president, the provost, the EVP don't make budget decisions. We listen to the BEC that actually makes recommendations, right? And so there's much more input, it's much more transparent, and we get to a better recommendation, it's true of all. So that was confirmatory. Number two is I didn't realize in the seat, and you can never feel this until you're actually sitting in the seat, all of the competing pressures to focus on things that are immediate, but not important. And so one of the disciplines that I've had to get better at is making sure that there's just constant noise, right? It's swirling. It's the world we live in. But every day I walk into my office, I look at the strategic plan. It's on the table in my office. First thing I see, it's the last thing I see. Why? It's our North Star. I don't care what's going on anywhere else. Everything I focus my attention on is how do we move those metrics? What are the levers we can pull to advance the strategic plan? And everything else can go to other people to him. That's where you got to keep your focus there. And so that's been really good learning for me to be very disciplined. And the last one, and I kind of need this to be funny. I came from public affairs world. So my job was always to do environmental scanning. That's a fancy way of saying what's going on out there. And how do you do environmental scanning? Well, first you talk to a lot of people, which I do continue to do. But the other way that we started doing about 2007 was social media. Yeah, what I learned was don't read social media because it contributes to the first part or the second part, right? The immediate versus the important. If I didn't, I appreciate people can use social media. I've said in commencement addresses, convocation addresses, that it is a distraction. If you're not paying for something, then you're the product. That I find it divisive. I find it polarizing. I think it is not a healthy thing for people, organizations, the world. You look at what it's done to young people. So what I learned, and here's the joke, is to let Casey read social media, right? She does, unfortunately. If there's something there that actually is important or trend, they're comms folks, they're all kinds of, I don't read it. Do you know why? I don't need my mind poisoned by the incessant negativity. And here's my closing message to you. Don't get poisoned by it either. These are small numbers of people who have the same megaphone that experts have or other people who actually know what's going on have. And they're going to use that to either be an Eeyore, to beat you up, use a baseball bat. It's not worth it. It just isn't. So appreciate that it exists. I appreciate lots of people use it. That's actually been for my mental health some of the most important learning. I don't. I encourage people to evaluate their own use of it and is it healthy or not. You've been gracious with your time. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. I believe I've addressed, somebody asked me when I'm leaving. I don't answer that question. No time soon. I'm very thankful that the Regents want Casey and I to be president and first lady at WKU. We love being president and first lady at WKU. I'm proud of the work we've accomplished. I'm even more proud of what we're going to accomplish in the years ahead. Lots of work to do, and we're really happy doing it. So with that, thanks for having me and go Tops.
Sit.
Okay, so now we will continue with our meetings. Okay, so now we have our committee and reports. So Jennifer, you're first. Staff Regent, do you have any report?
No report.
No
Haven't
report.
had a board meeting. We don't have one till November, so I'll give y'all a break today.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Communications?
No report.
Oh, this is gonna be quick. Treasurer, we got numbers.
Oh, I mean, they haven't changed it,
Okay. Can we just say ditto?
The numbers are the same as last time. No additions, no dispersions. There you go.
Okay, it's technology.
Just gonna update on the book scholarship, and thank all the people that did apply, we're working through those applications, and should have some, not, or two individuals chosen too, so we just wanna let everyone know that is, being worked on, and we'll get it, posted and shared with the Senate.
All right, thank you. All right, parliamentarian,
No report.
no report. Morgan, secretary.
No report.
Jordan.
Just to report on the work of the Campus Conversations Committee. We have invited, as you've probably seen in a very nice newsletter sent out, we have invited Dr. Stacy Biebelhauser, who's going to come to the October meeting. And she's going to tell us about the changes that will affect everyone as taxpayers from the One Big Beautiful Bill that recently passed. So that should be germane to everybody.
Okay. Me. I attended my first BEC meeting, but Herb, did you wanna go over the talking points, if you care to share, or?
You know, I don't have, let me see if I got it.
Yeah.
Talking points, got training coming up this afternoon for new members and anybody else. They're looking at forming a new committee to reevaluate the ramp model, so if anybody's interested on that. And, they voted to add an athletics representative to a non-voting, seat on the Budget Executive Committee.
All right, any old business, I think.
Can I talk about something that I did not want to forget about? I had briefly mentioned, 2 or 3 months ago about us having kind of a voice representative in all the other senates that happen on campus, right? SGA and faculty senate. SGA, I don't know if anyone was able to attend today, but they are planning on start attending all of our meetings, so that they have a representative coming to us. I reached out to the faculty senate, I kind of beat Dan Clark to the punch. He was also planning on reaching out to us to ask us if we would like to have a representative attend those meetings, which are the third Thursday at 3:45. And I said yes, and that we would ask for anybody to volunteer if they would like to attend, and that I would let him know who would be attending those meetings going forward. As the person who initiated this session, I am perfectly okay with being the person who goes to those meetings if nobody else is wanting to attend. That's what happens when you have an idea. You're the person that.
Yeah, usually.
Just keep in mind, I do attend everyone.
Yes, I mentioned that as well, yes.
If somebody ever can't go.
Any other old business? No? All right, new business. Public comment. We still have public? Any comment? No. Okay, announcements. Our staff engagement survey is open, and President did mention. I also want to stress to the staff that's watching. We really need your feedback. We want to hear it. This is a totally anonymous survey. I cannot stress that enough. We do not see the information that's coming through. We see the final result. So please submit and fill out your staff engagement survey. Anything else? Good? No? Okay. We're good. Adjourned. Ching, ching, ching.